Ron, my man.
Hey there, Tank. How you doing, sir?
Good. Hey, how's the music sound? Can you hear the music?
Yes, I can.
Is it
Sounds
clear or
pretty
is it
good.
muffled?
Sounds okay. I mean, it sounds tinny, but other than
Yeah,
that, it sounds all right.
through this microphone. If that's the worst, then
Ah,
that's good. All
yeah,
right.
okay. Yeah, if you're coming through the microphone, it sounds like I would expect it to sound. You're good.
Yeah, I just wanted it there as just one of the points, right? When you start, you got to have movement before you even start. That's why there's always an opening act. That's why there's music. That's why there's a hype man.
Yep. Got that.
Yep, you know.
I do. For me, it's always like, show will start soon, have some music in the background and just have it going.
Yeah.
There's a knot.
Hey, a not.
I have a possible client, man. I have a possible
Hey, a
client.
not. Oh, really? You got yourself a client? Hey, a not. Ron's just
I'll,
telling us that he's got a potential client. Well, let me turn this music down a little bit.
I said I have to send paperwork. It's one of those things where they wanted a list of all the games so they can pick something, and it's like maybe a full hour. So we'll see. We'll see what
All right.
happens. Yeah, positive
Cool.
thinking.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Congratulations. I'll
Yep.
turn this off. Gives
Congratulate me
everybody-
when I've got it signed. Right now, it's like it's gonna be signed, right? It'll be fine.
It's signed. You have to, the pianist thing, it's signed. You're living in your thought.
Yep.
here's
Picturing it
some
now.
here's some construction for your mental visualization, Ron.
Okay.
If you have a lot of, hey Deb, welcome.
Hey, Deb.
If you've got a lot of things that are like they've got to pick one of this and they may want an out, like you have too many options,
True.
right? Like in the beginning, especially what you're doing, like remember I told you about my 3 tricks. I did the same 3 tricks every table I went to. They didn't get
Okay.
to go, well, I'd like to see a rope trick and then a coin. Like, no, screw you. This is my show. I'm running this, right? Like, so have, like, you could ultimately, the idea would have a shelf like this filled with options. But in the beginning, I do, and whatever it is, like a 45-minute, and my topic is general. And if you give me some stuff, I can put it into the show. It's not this is what Alex
Got
talked
it.
about. Don't give them different choices whether or not they want to buy. Give them how they want to pay for it.
Yes.
That's the choices you want to give somebody, is how do they want to pay for it, not which product do they want to buy.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
That's
starting to see that because they're to get confused of what they want. It's like, well, just give me the, just I'm gonna run with it. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna
Yeah.
be cool.
It'll be
Got it.
over, like they get overwhelmed, right? Like when people would call me for the magic shows, it'd be, hey, so what do you charge? What do you have? I'm like, I show up and this is what you pay. Well, what do? I entertain your crowd. Like they didn't ask, right? Like if you open that door, then they're gonna start nitpicking,
Got
and that
it.
just be you. Like you charge an appearance fee, and whatever happens with your show happens.
Okay.
They're paying for Ron. They're not paying for any other. They're paying for you, man.
Point taken.
That's my
Thanks.
2 cents. All
Okay, no worries.
right. Hi, Deb.
Always listen to Tank. Tank's brilliant.
I don't know about always, but if something I said resonates, by all means, use it.
99% of the time, listen to Tank.
I'll take that.
And
Wait.
must not be married to him.
Yeah.
To who?
Or be my kids.
Oh,
or
no,
yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
That's why I get to say this, and Alicia isn't in the room, so don't say
Actually,
this to
she
Alicia.
is. She just finished meditating. But I've got earphones, so she can't hear us. They said listen to me 99% of the time. You should see the smile
Only
on
when
her
it comes
face.
to Ron. Only when it comes to Ron.
Yeah, right. Actually, she's pointing a finger. No, that's not pointing. Okay, I'm just kidding. She's not.
No worries.
I'm kidding. And Cranford's here and Marcelo's here. Welcome, everybody. Wow, this is fantastic.
I know, and Lee's coming. She's getting her dogs in.
She's
So-
getting awesome.
I,
Very
getting
cool.
I have to
Thank
jump
you.
off 10 minutes before the end.
Yeah,
because I have
I'll
to
tell you this.
relax.
I have 5 minutes before the end is a hard stop because we've got to use this account for another meeting. And so Miss Alicia will be running a different thing, and therefore it'll be a hard stop at 55 minutes, just so you know. So I'm going to honor that for you guys. And if you have to jump off, by all means, I will not take offense. And honestly, I'm actually honored you are all here. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having us and reaching out. Like, what a legend. No, seriously, that's so nice.
My pleasure. I'm happy to do it. Like, if I can say something of value, boy, I love talking, so this is win-win.
I love saying stuff, even if I don't say something of value. Sometimes.
Yeah, now I'm with you. That's true. Amber. I dig. Awesome.
This is where the 99% starts drifting away.
Yeah, now the numbers just start. Okay. All right, we'll get like we're at not 5 minutes after, so let's just jump in, and whoever shows, right? So again, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. The whole point of this is just like I said, if I have any knowledge that can be helpful, I know there was some questions, there was some talk. I would love to share, because for those of you that don't know, all those books behind me are magic books. I was a magical presenter for, I don't know, 20 plus years. And so I have a few hours on stage, and I'm happy to share what I know. Hey, Pat, welcome.
Hey, Tank,
So-
good morning.
Good morning. So yeah, like I guess I want to start, like I can kind of just, I'll tell you a little bit about what I've heard and what I think is valuable, because I know we're in a completely different age than I grew up in. And so we've got two different worlds we're talking about, right? We've got in person, where you're actually talking to human beings, and then you've got what we're doing now, which is the Brady Bunch set of squares, right? That's a whole different feel than person. And it won't matter unless you've done one more than the other. And the only difference, in my opinion, is adjusting your own emotion to the mode you're using, right? Like, because I've been on stage, I've been live in person, I'm like Tinkerbell. I thrive on that back and forth, that feedback, right? Like if I don't feel the audience's energy, then I get freaked. I'm like, oh my God, it didn't land. They didn't like it. Like, so, but that's just me. Here, I can see you guys nodding, and I had to translate what that looks like. I've got nodding. Now, if everybody's screen goes blank and I see your icon as opposed to that, I'm like, okay, that's another sign. They're bored. They're off doing something else. I'm going to try and do something to bring you back. But the only difference in my world is personal. So everything I say, I think, should cover both of those, whether you're doing live or whether you're doing virtual. Having said that, Miss Alicia just summed up the call. She turned, she goes, just be you. It's so easy, right? Just be you. It's so easy. Authentically you. And she's right? Like, I will challenge a little bit. The challenge is, if we haven't spent time on a stage, if we haven't done this before, authentically me is sitting back going, how do I talk to 1,000 people? Right? Like if we haven't done it, that's not really authentically us yet. But if you, and this is my first point, I started talking about this in the chat, which was know your stuff so cold. Just know it dead. Like the content, you don't have to know every word. And I know we were talking about note cards and making sure you know your place. It doesn't matter if you have every word in the right place. It matters what your intention is and that you're comfortable with your subject matter. That, I think, is more important than anything, because, and the other points I made, I think, follow from it. And I'll just reiterate them briefly, which is, if you know what you're talking about, it doesn't matter what you show them. It's gonna be how they feel about you, right? And the other thing is, and this is the great one for this modality, this form of presentation, crap is going to go wrong, and you got to have a backup to your backup. Like I don't know if everybody was on the call, but Wendy's call, she fell off our sprint call several times, right? Like we blacked air, and then all of a sudden now she's back, and then we can't see her, and then there's some choppiness, and we just kind of picked up, and Ron stepped in, some other people started chatting, which was great. But if you are solid in who you are, you're authentically talking about something that's important to you, then your visual aids can go to crap. Doesn't matter. Your note cards can get coffee spilled on them. It's not going to matter, right? It doesn't matter what you say. It's as long as you're being there for them. And that, I think, sometimes works into the mindset of imposter syndrome. Am I saying, do I know what the hell I'm talking about? Why should they listen? Or am I doing this to try and sell them? And like, whatever your reasons are, try and clear that away before you start, and just deliver who and what you want to deliver. If you're doing a pitch and you're going to do an offer, that's part of who you are, and you got to recognize the value. And don't get me started on pricing. Ron, Pat, pricing. Yes, is that a question, Deb?
It is. now I got to remember it. This is my brain. This is what I have to live with. Uh, gosh, it was something you just said.
Did it have to do with visuals?
Hold on. I'm typing as it'll be in
Okay.
my notes. I'm sorry, you guys.
No apologies.
It doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter what you say as long as you're there for them. I totally agree. Well, of course, with all of it, what I have a problem with or concern is the signature presentation. Like if I was doing a keynote, that feels like I could walk a step into that. As a signature presentation, I feel like even though you're sharing, I feel like the majority of what I'm feeling is that a signature presentation is all our story woven in, unless we're using somebody else's story. I just feel like that's what it is for me. So then I feel like I just wonder about how much we're able to give them in a signature presentation, especially let's say if you only have 10 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay. If you have 10 minutes, it's not a signature presentation. That's my opinion, right? Like a signature presentation, according to the, and I've got it up on my screen here, like those 10 points, you're not doing 10 of anything in 10 minutes, right? It takes, I mean, unless you are a master like the magician I spoke about in the chat, it takes a good 3 minutes, give or take, to connect with your audience. Like you've got to build that trust. Now, obviously there's first impressions, there's tools and tricks you can do to do that. And we can talk about those if the group wants, but a signature presentation is, I'm going to take you on a journey from meeting you to asking you to do something for me and that entire arc. Can it be done in 10 minutes? Absolutely. I have no doubt that it can be done, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. So if you have an opportunity to speak for only 10 minutes, this is where you have to look at who they are, what the goal of you being there is, and like this is why you have to know what you're trying to accomplish more than anything. Give me an example of why you would only have 10 minutes. Is that something that you're currently facing?
Okay. So I have not faced anything as far as the presentations go. I just have heard that sometimes when you go to try to network with, or, when you're trying to get a presentation, I've been told by Wendy that you want it to be your signature presentation. Most of the time, your first presentation with wherever you're going. And maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I've heard that sometimes they have a 10-minute slot. Sometimes they have a 20-minute slot, and that you have to be ready to do that. But I feel the same way. I'm like, how could I do a signature? I feel like the signature presentation, for me, I feel like it wouldn't land in 10 minutes. You know?
I not a full one. I don't think so. I think in that scenario, you have to kind of gauge who the audience is and what part of that you want to deliver. It could be one of your secrets. It could be just to get to know you. Like, I'll give you an example. Like I booked a call with a former coworker, somebody I worked with in a different industry years ago. I found an article of his online. I'm like, dude, we should catch up. And so we caught up. We spent, and the call was like a half hour. We spent 25 minutes talking about him and a mutual interest. And right at the end of the call, like, and I tell you this because my goal was to serve him, right? Like I had no agenda. I just wanted to catch up with him. I thought he's one of the person on one of my list. Like I want to reach out to him and just reconnect. And finally at the end, because he's a good dude, he's like, yeah, so I by the way, I did some research. I see that you're doing coaching. Let's talk about that. I'm like, yeah, and I got 5 minutes of airtime. But my intention was, and this is really critical when it comes to performing, in my opinion, is my intention was to give him the time and find a couple of common grounds. Luckily, we got to talk about something we both liked, which was crypto. We spent a good chunk on that. That was really fun. And talked about real estate because he's now a high-end realtor. Like, it was all about him. And we talked about family. We talked about his trip to Disney. But it was, my intention came through, which was to talk about him. So in that vein, if you've got 10 minutes, who are they? What are they? And if it's not a signature presentation, if it is, then just talk about them. Do the part number 2. So you can do the whiplash if you want, but acknowledge and show them you know who they are. Like that's what I would do, because again, at the end of the day, they're going to remember how you made them feel, not what you said. Right?
Hey, Dan, can I say something about
Yeah, of
that?
course. Please.
So Deb, so if you're talking about networking, which I've done a few of those, you do get the 10-minute slots. And I think what Tank just said is focus on the first couple of slides of the presentation, or like, I know who you are, I know this is hard, all those, whatever David has, right? In your version. And what I did is I just spoke into one secret, or I taught something within my methodology. It was very informational. It was educational, sorry, not informational. It's just like, I talk about mindset. So I say, I talked about the 5 primary drivers. I kept it very simple, but the first 3 slides, or whatever, the first 2-3 minutes were talking about them and how they, how us as entrepreneurs, because we're in this networking, it's not easy. We have a lot of obstacles. So I know who you are because I'm one of them. And by the way, your brain works this way. And that was it, 10 minutes. So I don't know if that helps, but it's what it helped me with is if you prepare your signature presentation, now you know what you can talk about. Like, it's in your head. All you do is you grabbing, well, I'm going to talk about secret number 2. So you just kind of extracting the information. That's the beauty of that, because you can modify that big 45-minute, an hour presentation into 5-minute slots, because you've done it already. It's in your head. You just have to compress it to the time. I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of, thanks, Tank.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I would totally agree with that. It's there's so many variations on what that 10 minutes can be. If it's networking, it's get to know them and share who you are. You definitely want to get your message out. I'm not saying make it about them and try not to talk about you, but if there's that little bit of give and take, yeah, show them that you acknowledge them, which means you kind of have to get to know them, especially if you've never met them before. And then, like Marcelo, sorry, give them a little bit of taste of what they can expect if they get more of you. And I would definitely drop some open loops in there, like we talked about, right? Like, hey, in my full talk, I talk about this and this, but we're going to talk about this today. It's a wonderful thing when you tease the brain. It's got to come full circle.
That's a good one. The one I use is like, this is part of a longer 45-minute hour conversation. I'm just going to give you a little taste of it. That's exactly the exact lines I use. Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, this is just for some reason. Well, I know the reason. It's not intuitive. I'm not using my intuition for, like, as I hear you guys say that, I'm like, duh, yeah, of course. But I'm not using my intuition because I am trying so hard to follow the rules of set in front of me. So my brain's kind of thinking black and white, and I'm not using my intuition to just think outside of the box. And it's I can let myself get a little frustrated with myself around that. And I'm trying to be gentle with myself, that it's like, okay, Deb, it's all right. It's all right. Nothing's gone wrong.
Yeah.
So that is exactly, this is very helpful, because, the other thing Wendy also says that, like, if you give, like, let's say we talk about the 5 primary drivers or something. I love this. Some of you guys are coaches in here. This is really helpful. Then she says, well, then that's more of a keynote. That's not really your signature presentation. So this is my next question, Tank, is when let's say you have 10 minutes, then how much of an offer do you put in there? Since we're supposed to do approximately 15% getting to know them, 55% secrets, and I can let the black and white go. So as you guys tell me, I'm going to let my black and white thinking go, but I need help on that.
Gotcha. So you're saying, how much can you, okay, so you're asking about call to action. You're saying what type and how much of a call to action do I put in at the end of my time? I know that in her call, there was some discussion about how much, what's the dollar amount you can get before you need to have a conversation. And again, another part of my background, I'm going to preface this to let you know that I've got some knowledge on this, and I'm only satisfying myself by talking about how my credentials matter. But as a sales trainer for about 20 years as well, there's some background noise. Okay. Make your offer to be another conversation. I hate one call closes in any industry, because you get the seminar effect or whatever, and then you get your rescission rate is so high, people they fall off more when they feel pushed, even if they are spot on your client and they love it and they want it. There's still that psychological pull of, did I act too fast? So again, 1,000 variations depending on the actual talk you're giving and who you're talking to and those different functions. I would say your call to action should always be a follow-up call. I mean, if you're doing an hour long and you've got your full presentation and it's, hey, sign up for my online course or what, if you've got your thing, your thing is solid. The whole presentation is there. But if it's anything outside of, at the beginning of the call, I was talking to Ron about have one product, multiple ways to pay for it, couple of variations once you buy it, but have one thing. Anything outside of that, it's a follow-up to do that one thing. You're going to drive to your one thing. This is one thing that I, and all respect to David and the entire community, I don't hear them harping enough. Like, especially early stage where most of us are, sell one damn thing. And everything leads up to that offer. And if it's a signature talk, whether it's a hour-long call or a speaking from a stage, whatever, it's all the same. Like, it's all the same presentation, but have one thing you're focused on. 10 minutes is not your signature presentation. So your 10 minutes should lead up to an hour-long call about how I can best serve you. Or I would love to work on this stage next year and have a full keynote. So if you like that, tell the organizers, write whatever. Shameless self-promotion is the name of the game. But this is why online funnels work, is it's that slow feed. We've completely missed the fact that this is how humanity worked before computers, right? We would, hey, how, like, it's the same thing as dating. Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'd love to go out. Like, you don't ask to go to bed 10 minutes into the first date. Like, you just don't do that. If you do, you're probably, well, good luck if you can, but it's not somebody you want to be with long-term, right? That's my opinion. Maybe it is. I don't know. We all have different tastes, but like, you want to be able to get to your presentation so that you can do your presentation. That's what I would say about that. The other thing I'll say is, like, this goes to the black and white comment you made. Have the one thing and everything drives to it, and there are no fucking rules. There are no fucking rules. I'll say it one last time. And I know I'm swearing and that might offend some of you, and I apologize if it does, but I'm really not sorry because this is who I am. There's no fucking rules. Be you. Be authentically you. What do you want out of that 10 minutes? Yeah, David's got, and I've got it up on my screen, like the whiplash, the acknowledge, the who am I, your sort, like, okay, that's a great template. I've got 6 more. I can send you 6 more. Which set of rules are you going to follow? I remember somebody asked a question. I have 3 sets of 3 secrets. And I was like, how? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, you know who you are. You know what you want to talk about. You know who you help. And if you don't, get there first. Don't go out talking to people if you don't know. Right? Like, know what you do. Now, granted, it's a circle and there's lots of work. But yeah, go ahead.
The about the call to action, I'll give my example. And all I do is, hey, guys, if you guys are interested, if you guys want support, if you guys feel like you're in this place of these loops, let's talk afterwards, or something simple. It's just like, I'm happy to support you. Just give me a call, or I'm happy, here's my email, or if you don't know them, right? But if you know, if part of my network work was like, hey, if you guys get stuck, I'm happy to talk, let's set up an appointment. We'll do an hour talk and see if I can support you further. Something like that, something very simple. That's kind of your call to action at the end. When you're at the 9 minutes, you're like, hey, I'm happy to help anyone that's interested in this. And thanks for your time.
Yeah,
That's all you
as
can
simple
do,
as
really.
that.
Yeah,
It's
that's all you
super
can do.
simple.
Yeah, that's all you can do, because you're not delivering the signature presentation. You're just giving them a taste of what you do. Here's an example. And if you want more, call me.
Pat, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback on what you said about building relationships. That is so important. And if I could give you a personal example, I actually have 2 cars in my garage, and I don't know why I went to the car dealer, but I bought a car and a 3rd car. And I'm like, I don't even have a 3-car garage. And I really don't even need a third car. I'm not traveling that much. So why did I buy a car? I can't explain it, but I end up talking to someone. I took the car back because I didn't need the car. I don't even like driving. So the thing of it is, when you present something to someone at the moment, it sounds engaging. It sounds like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. But then if you don't allow them to actually marinate with what that product is, they're going to bring it back. You know, and as with coaching, they're going to find ways to break those clauses and get out of that relationship, because it's like, I really hadn't processed this the way it really is. You know what I'm saying? So you want to build those relationships. You want your clients to be clear on what it is that you offer and what they're going to get out of that relationship. And as far as a 10-minute presentation, you could put as much, it's basically what the guys just said. You could put in as much value in it as what you want to, but just keeping that in mind, that everything you do, everything you say, you want it to make a valuable impact on the ears that it fall on. So, and as Tank said, there's so many different methodologies out there. You have to create your own. David is only giving us a template. This is not a robotic move. It's like, well, David said, jump this way. David said, jump 3 inches. No, you have to decide. Exactly. You have to go into the room. You have to feel the environment. You have to know why they called you on that stage and how much time are they giving you to do. All of that is important. But then you have to right away, if you're at an event and someone says, well, oh, we have Deb in the audience, come on up here. She's an awesome person. What are you going to do? You know, that's not going to be 15 minutes. It's not going to be half an hour. You have to make an instant decision. What value can I bring to this stage in this short, it might be 3 minutes. What can you say that when you walk away, people are going to feel the breeze of Deb throughout the whole atmosphere? They're going to be peeping over at you saying, I want to talk to her.
Yeah.
I want to talk to her.
Pat, can I piggyback on that?
For sure, absolutely.
That is such a brilliant and insightful point, that there's a tool that I've used, and I didn't realize it was a tool. It was just something I was taught very early on. But because you might get 3 minutes at any given point, and what do you say? Like, you should, and I think I heard Wendy say this, you should have a 3 minute, a 10 minute, and an hour. Like, you should have like, you should have different time segments, but you can also just recognize learning where you are real quick and then giving a little taste. But the more you do it, you'll be able to figure that out and accordion it. You'll be able to squeeze it or pull it as necessary. But the one way to prepare for that is to always have a joke ready, hip pocket, probably a 2-minute story joke. And you want to practice the hell out of it. You want it to be dead solid. You want it to be funny, and you want it to talk about kind of who you are, right? And if you have that, then if you do get called up and like, hey, this is my friend Pat. Hey, Pat, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? What do you do? Oh, I do this. Hey, let me tell you something. And then you lean in. Like, if that's who you are, you can have, doesn't have to be a joke. It can be a little story. It can be a quip. It can be a fairy tale. Who cares? But have your tiny chunk that can lead into a 10-minute, that can lead into a 30, that can lead into your hour or your 4-hour or whatever your ultimate goal is, right? But that's being authentic, knowing who you are. I mean, because if you get in front of people that you don't serve, has anybody been there before? Raise your hand if you've ever been in front of a crowd that is not your crowd. Anybody? And had to talk to them? Yeah? Yeah. So what do? Do you talk to them? Do you say what you want to say, or do you say what they want to hear? Cranford, what did you do?
I go like this. No.
Love it.
No, it's one of those things that I try to have something ready that it's broad enough that a lot of people in the crowd or in the audience will go, oh yeah, that makes sense. If I've only got a couple of minutes, what I really want them to do is go, oh, that guy's not an idiot. I might want to hear something else he says.
Yeah.
If that's all the time I've got, I want to say something that's makes sense, that's valuable to them, so that if I do talk to them or they see me afterwards, they might want to go, hey, what else do you do? Or something.
Yeah, I love it. I would even argue that if you're in front of the absolute wrong audience, you should still do your signature presentation, even if it's not for them. Uh, and a couple of reasons come to mind. Number one, practice, right? When I would teach my students in sales to like practice their pitch and get good, I would always tell them, if you can pitch to like a 9-year-old or a 13-year-old girl and keep their attention, your pitch is good, right? Like you just have to have who you are and what you want to say good. Doesn't matter. Like no 13-year-old's going to buy solar. But when I would practice it, if I could make what I'm saying compelling enough, authentic enough, it's going to be intriguing enough. They're not going to sign the paper, but it's good practice for me. Plus it reinforces my skills, my practice and all that. And number two, there might be people in there that, even though that's not why they've gathered, there might be 1 or 2 people whom I go, oh, I actually do have that problem. You are somebody from, like, you never know who's in that crowd just because they all gathered. We're not putting buckets and stay there. We have many buckets that we fit into. So be you. There are no rules, and just live your story, right?
A
Can I
really,
throw
really,
a couple of tips in there?
a really good way to practice
Yeah,
is,
let's go with Nott and then Cranford. Yeah.
sorry,
That's a good.
is like the whole note card thing is, and also if you want to actually just speak it and then transcribe it, is to take Otter, which is like a voice recording thing, and it transcribes what you say a little bit weirdly, but it transcribes it, and just talk to Otter. Otter is your best friend. You can just walk around and talk to yourself all day, the speech. And then you have the way you speak it, because at least for me, my tendency is when I write, it becomes really academic or like, an essay and not the way I would talk. So just walking around recording yourself, and then you have the way it, the way you
Sounds.
say it.
Yeah, love that.
You can do it on Zoom too, but Otter is a little bit easier because you can walk around with it. And
Yeah, there's an advantage to Zoom which I like, which is the visual, because there's so much communicated non-verbally. But yeah, I absolutely am a huge fan of recording. I love that, and that's awesome. Thank you. Cranford, did you have a couple of things you want to put in there?
Yeah. I made a couple of notes, and Deb, I was thinking about you. I didn't know what kind of presentation you were thinking of, but the couple of things that I would throw out to you is, when we talk about being authentically you, there's, I would say that doesn't mean, if you're a wild and crazy person, that doesn't mean you need to always be wild and crazy. If I'm presenting to a room full of military officers, which I've done before, I can be authentically me in that crowd.
Yep.
That speaks to them. And if I'm speaking to a room full of women who are domestic violence survivors, I can be authentically me with them, but it doesn't sound like the authentically me when I'm talking to a bunch of colonels and generals. Or if I'm at an event that's celebratory, I can be authentically me, but I'm not going to be come across the same way I would when I'm being in that solemn space of survivors who need to hear that they're okay. So authentically you doesn't mean only one you. You've got to be the you that fits that audience.
Absolutely.
If there's an audience that you can't fit with, maybe it's not a good idea to speak to them.
Yep.
So yeah, when you think of authentically you, it's the you that's appropriate for them, but be you. One of the other things I was thinking about I was at an event 2 weeks ago, and this lady, great speaker, terrific speaker, she lost her place. And something she did that I absolutely loved, she goes, hey, what did I say just a minute ago? Anybody raise your hand if you know what I was talking about? And people started doing it. She turned this moment that could have been, really uncomfortable into a little bit of a game and very humorous into what is the game that Tama was thinking about 5 minutes ago, and everybody laughed, had a good time. She got back on track and kept going. So I thought, you know, what a great idea. I'm writing that down in my idea book.
I love
You
it.
know, and the other thing I was going to tell you, the way that I do my presentations when I'm teaching, and I was so happy that Wendy finally told me the signature presentation is not written in stone. It's a guideline. You know, you can adjust it big, you can adjust it small. And a lot of the times, the stuff I want to talk about are not set up as a signature presentation. I want to explain confidence to women, or I want to explain, you know, teaching safety to children. And that's not my signature presentation, but it is about building up the relationship between me and them, between me and the audience. And an easy way that I think to get that audience to go, oh, I want more, is like in my initial program, there are 6 steps to it. And I can go, you know, I've only got 10 minutes, but what I really want to share with you is step number 1 of my program, because it's so powerful. Let me tell you about it. And then if you say nothing else about it, they have it in their head. There's 5 more steps to this. This was freaking awesome. Hey, how do I get the other 5 steps? You know, so it's an automatic opening to there's more. Come see me. Are you interested? You know, to pique their curiosity. But yeah, back to the thing about having a note card. You know, the way I do mine, I write out. I don't record mine. I write mine. It helps me remember everything I want to say about every topic. And then I go back, because there's no way I can memorize it. I suck at memorizing. But, you know, I can go then and then crunch it down a little more. And then I'm down to 1 or 2 words that, oh yeah, that's the thing I was talking about. And then it just jogs me for everything I wanted to say. But since I don't have it memorized, you could ask me a question about any of it, and I can be fluid enough to answer your question within that topic. So, and, you know, whether it's using the program Annette was talking about, or anyway, you know, just to familiarize yourself, just like Tank was saying, know your stuff.
Yeah, you want to be able to have it that
Know it, you know, rather than having it memorized, is allows you to be fluid. If somebody throws you a question or you get tripped up, you know, you don't get tripped up when you know your stuff broadly enough that you can respond to pretty much any comment. I mean, what do you think, Tank?
Well, yeah, I apologize for interrupting. I just love that, because when you're in front of live audiences, which I assume most of us are trying to get back to, like, this format is fantastic and it's probably going to be here forever, but live audiences are a lot more powerful. And when you do that, when you start spending time in front of them, you're going to feel your audience, and you're going to feel if you're on track, you're going to feel if you're not. And if you have a memorized speech and it's not going well, you have a choice to make. Do you keep going down what you want, or do you and fall in a hole? Or do you go, okay, this is not landing. Let's back up. Let's find something else. Audience participation. Hey, raise your hand if this is tracking. And you get blank stares. You go, great, I'm gonna jump to secret number 3 or whatever. Like, this one's not important. It's great feedback for you, but if you are that black and white 1 bucket, that's death. That's death to a performer in a live kind of circus environment, which I think these are all circus type environments. A couple of things, and I've heard it a couple of times. Number 1, never, ever, ever apologize. I'm going to throw some tips in here just because it popped up. Never apologize. It's always gratitude. So if you're late, not sorry for being late, thank you for your patience. If you spill your speech, thanks for understanding. You know, I'm on stage here and I've got all these eyes on me. Thank you for understanding that this is not easy, right? Whatever. Never apologize. 0 apologies. They don't work. They don't mean anything. They just degrade you. Don't do it, please. And just. There's a time and a place for using the word just. It's very rarely after the word I. I just blah, blah, blah. I just this or that. Stop it. No, you are so much more than just one thing. No more justing. Forget just. Drop it. Kill it from your language. Yeah. And Ron, this is what I'm going to send to you. I'm going to send you several of these. It's a rubber band. If you have verbal tics, get a rubber band around your wrist. I've got a bunch of these. I bought them. They were for a website I was going to build to sell them. And if you want them, just reach out. I'll send you a handful. Snap it every time. If you say or any verbal tic or something you don't want to do, if you're talking too fast, snap it. take a breath and slow down. There is absolute science behind this, and it will make you a much better presenter and performer in whatever sense. And you can do this for anything. One of my magic teachers way back in the day used the rubber band. He's the one who taught it to me back in 1991. He used it to help him slow down smoking. He didn't quit, he tried, but he slowed his smoking down with a rubber band. So if you want, we can talk about that further, but figure out what works for you. And when you record it, whether it's on Otter, as Anat said, or a video, whatever, watch what you're doing and be critical of yourself. If you want to be on stages, you're gonna have to grow your skin. You can't be made out of glass. Is that the phrase where it just oh my God, that sucks, I'm gonna shatter? Like we can't be that. The messages we have because of who we are and what we're building and what we want to share has to be so much stronger than our frailties. And that just takes practice, and it takes courage, and you're gonna be scared, and you're gonna get eaten alive by audiences. And if you guys are a fan of Dave Chappelle or Jerry Seinfeld, they talk often about their most favorite times in life are the shows where they've bombed. That's not something you've played with. I'm going to highly suggest you bomb on purpose. If you want to be a good presenter, go do open mic night somewhere. Write 4 jokes or steal 4 jokes and just tell 4 jokes and bomb and eat dirt. And then when you're talking to people who want to hear what you have to say, you'll be so glorious you won't know what hit you.
Yeah, silence is golden. I was at a talk last week of a family friend who had a serious stroke. He's like a screenwriter, actor, producer, like cult film, like he's pretty famous here. And he had a serious stroke and he lost his ability to speak.
Oof.
So, and like, you know, he'd have the word in his brain, but then just sounds would come out. And it's, you know, this intense therapy over years and years. And he wrote a book about his first 7 words, and there's stories that go along with it. And it's really amazing. And he's going around giving these lectures. And so he's on stage, and, you know, he's a well-versed person that knows how to appear on stage. And he couldn't get through the show. And there were just these, you know, deathly moments of silence that you see. I mean, you see him trying to get the words out and he just can't do it. And so, you know, it was a very sympathetic audience, obviously, and everybody knows what he's gone through. But we just sat there, and it was, and he said he needed absolute silence in order to constantly, you know, to be able to get the words out. But it was just, you sit with the silence, and it can be very uncomfortable, but everybody's with you. And, you know, when it got too hard, then someone would be like, you know, we're rooting for you, or trying to, you know, fill in where he was having trouble. But silence creates this tension that doesn't do.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's interesting. Along with that, I'm sorry to hear about that. Hope he's doing well. Send our love.
He's doing amazing. That's why
Good.
he's doing this. So.
Good. Glad to hear. In terms of what triggered in my brain, I want to share is when you play music, it's not the notes, it's the space between the notes. It's that gap, that space, the differentiation that makes it work. So when you write your talks and your different speeches, and again, like comedians will say, you don't need transitions. If what you're saying is relevant and has value and is impactful, it can stand on its own, and you can jump subjects. For example, was anybody offended that I pulled out my rubber band and started talking about the word just and apologies? Did I transition into that? Like, who gives a shit? Again, there's no rules. I felt it was important. I wanted to say it. I think it landed. And if it didn't, what do I care? Y'all are still here. Y'all didn't give me the finger and dump off. Like, it's fine. This is life. This is how these things work.
Hey, can I throw 2 more things out, and I'll stop adding.
Good. Go ahead.
I had a mentor for a while in a program. She was past president of the National Speakers Association. And if she was coaching you on speaking, and you said, if you would like more, if you use the word if oh, she was all over you.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, because if gives you the option now of yes or no. And she would say, instead of saying, if you would like to learn more, she would just say, make it an offer that you already accept they are going to want more. To learn more about this, meet me at the back of the room and we can sign you up for a class.
Yeah.
To get started on your journey, da 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 da. Never if you want to. Okay. The other thing was when you're just giving your passionate, heartfelt self, I don't think it really matters how much you screw up. You know, I've had stuff where I stumbled through a class and people came up to me and were like, oh my gosh, I got so much from that. And I'm like, from me stumbling through, you got something other than I suck, you know, which I was terrified, but they were still getting stuff. I was at a conference of my wife's company, and this guy, so help me, he was the worst speaker on the planet because he was terrified, but he was intentional and he was really pouring it out. I could see every mechanical thing he was doing, you know, that he's learned about speaking. And really, if you were going to grade him, you would fail him. But I got so much from that guy. I mean, he inspired me through his fear. He was determined to share his heart and his experience. So I would tell you, you know, don't be afraid of a stumble. Don't be afraid of coming across nervous. People, I mean, when you're being you, when you're giving of your heart and you're really trying to help people, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. You know, I mean, I believe in the energy of the universe and everything. When you're pouring it out there, people are going to get it. So, you know, don't stress too much about having the exact right words, you know, or anything like that. It works. I don't know why, but it does. It's amazing.
It's beautiful. Rich, I see that you
Hey,
unmuted.
I did. And by the way, Tank, nice to meet you, Rich.
You as well, Rich. Nice to meet you. Thanks for
Yeah,
showing.
look forward. Yeah, man. Just wanted to speak really quickly. I former stripper in my younger days, and then turned around and became a pastor. Stood up in front of groups and spoke, and I just wanted to speak to intention. You know, intentionality. Cranford beautifully talked about all these mistakes and things that are said and not said properly, or jokes that didn't land, or whatever. And a pure heart that has the right intentions, I think, is kind of like a blanket or an umbrella for everything that I've heard since I've got on the call. When you stand up and you minister or speak to or share from your heart that says, hey, I've got a message that I need to share. These people do not understand what I understood. If they understood what I understood, they wouldn't be in my audience, right? So therefore, it's my job, my task to just convey this message. And the message is more important than me and how I show up or what I do or don't do right. And when you have that attitude that says they need what I have, and it's my goal to get me out of the way and deliver what I have, that goal or that intention, when you make a mistake, you'll laugh at yourself. When you don't say something right, oh, by the way, I made this point, and guess what? That was supposed to be 2 points from now. But all right, you're gonna, and you'll make a joke about that, and you'll just be very, very fluid, very relatable, very personable, and it just goes down to the point of, am I going to be able to convey what I have to share with these people in a way that they can understand it? And when you make that the focus and not how good you look, it changes the whole dynamics, the energy, the vibratory field. It changes everything. So just stand up, get yourself out of the way, and deliver the message, and make sure that the content of the message, I mean, you're feeding these people, right? They need what you've got, and it's your job to deliver it to them, in spite of what mistakes may or may not show up.
I love it. That was beautiful, Rich. Thank you for sharing that, and definitely a pleasure to meet you. I can't wait to talk to you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. And to that point, I'm going to give you guys a tip. And this is something that I would teach my salespeople. I haven't used it in presentation just because I have not found the need for it because of the presentation style. But when it came to sales, and I think this is a universal tool, ask for help. And it takes many forms. So when you are out doing your presentation, now, Deb, for you, I know you got lots of questions and you're concerned. You got these kind of things floating around about, oh my God, what if? Until you have that problem, don't worry about it, right? Like once you have booked a 10-minute or a 20-minute or a 30-minute call, then build it out. But the tip is, hey, thank you all for being here. By the way, just small note, this is my first presentation I've ever given. So I appreciate you guys being here. I would teach my sales guys to say, hey, this is my first week. I don't have all the answers. So if you'll just bear with me while I work through this. Basically, you're saying, help me. And people love to help. Like if you go out there and go, I've been doing this for 30 years and you make a mistake, they're going to eat you alive. If you say, I'm brand new to this, I appreciate your patience. Thank you all for being here. If I make mistakes, I know you guys are going to have my back. You can flub up all day and they're going to be like, no, keep going, buddy, keep going. Kind of like what Not was saying, that they're going to want you to succeed. They're going to give you what you need and they're going to be your champion, whether they care what you're saying or not. So use it with discretion. And yeah, Ron, I see a hand is raised. And then we got to wrap this up in about 3 minutes. So
Yeah.
Give me what you got.
Real quick. Okay. So here's the scenario. Tank's about ready to go on stage. There's 150 people or more outside in the cart behind the curtain.
Okay.
Curtain well, before the curtain even opens, you're 10 minutes to curtain. What does Tank do to get himself in state and just kind of calm everything down?
Great question. First of all, right before I go on, so I'll work backwards from walking on stage. I'm going to look through the curtain and I'm going to just scream inside my brain, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm going to look at every person I can see from backstage until I whip them into a frenzy in my own heart. Before that, this may not be what you want to hear. I absolutely don't want to calm down. My state is high energy, right? So I definitely meditate and I have a lot of time, but that's for thinking. I keep myself calm so I can get through my day, do the work I need to do, handle my 3 teenage kids, shit like that. I'm calm when I need to do that stuff, but when I present, I need to bring my energy. So to your question, I will do whatever routines that have. So for me, it's the thank you, the gratitude, the love to my audience. It's hype up. I might talk to the universe. I might do what you all might call a prayer, but I'm running through how awesome it's going to be and like who I'm going to help, who I'm going to serve, and the message I'm going to deliver. I'm just running in my head. I can't wait to get here.
Yeah.
And as a point to this, I sat down in red, which you can't see, these like 4 lines right there. Those are the notes I took for this. I wrote those down after I was on the call. That's how much prep I did for this. I'm not at all worried about my content because like, if you know what you're talking about and it's in your heart, it's going to come out. And if not, I got 10 other people here that can take the reins and speak for me. I ain't got to do it all. Right. So,
True.
But I would say if you need to calm down and you want to be slow, take your breath, say your prayer, talk to the universe, find a gratitude. For me, it's grateful that I have the energy and capacity to do this. And then I whip myself into a frenzy. I mean, there's nothing like an audience cheering you on.
Oh, definitely.
So
Yeah.
awesome.
Appreciate
sauce.
that. Good
Yeah, no,
advice.
that's a great question. I'm happy to talk with anybody one-on-one, not if, but when you want more advice. Thanks, Cranford. Just if you guys want to talk more, if you need some tips and tricks, I'm happy to discuss like specifics or anything. So don't hesitate to reach out. I really appreciate you all being here. Like this just meant the world to me. I figured I have a couple of people. I know there was not a ton of interest, but thank you guys. You are the best of the best. And I love you all. I cannot wait to see all of your success keep growing. So if there's anything I can do to help and support that success, please reach out and let me know.
Hank, this is great. Thank you. And I so appreciate you offering this. And yeah, it's terrific to be with a bunch of legends, sharing
Absolutely.
information back and forth.
And I have no idea who Tank is. I'm assuming, Tank, you do something as a sales or speaking, or you do something that facilitated the call being put together today, right?
I'm a coach. I help entrepreneur parents. That's what I do.
He's just an awesome legend that decided to help some other legends. That's what he is. He's an awesome guy.
I'm a dude. That's it. I'm just a dude.
Tank is awesome.
Dude, guess what, man? I'm a dude too. No.
Rock on, brother. Awesome. It's that time, guys. I need to get off, but I thank you. This recording, so I'll post a link to the recording so you guys can share it with whomever you want. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you
buddy.
so much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
So awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.